25, and 30, 35, 40, 45, 55, 65, and 75, and sold.
The Call of the Auction Man. Starring Rich Ramp. In this episode, Rich identifies collective pieces of pottery, the top 5 selling auction items, and reveals a recent indicator towards growth in online real estate auctions. Later, Rich digs into the value of some unique treasures. And I'm Laura Baker, and we're here with the Auction Man. Collectors of high-end pottery typically start out without any goal or objective. Often, it begins innocently enough by inheriting a piece of pottery. Others are simply looking for the right decorative arts and crafts that accent the mission or style of furniture that they have in their homes. Our auction man has a few ideas of what to look for when collecting pottery.
Well, pottery is like everything else. I mean, you collect what you can afford to start with. And you start collecting maybe Hall or McCoy or things like that, and then you move up the ladder to Roseville and Weller, and you just keep moving up the ladder of collectible things of different types of pottery. And you get to Newcomb College, and you get to pieces of pottery that are thousands of dollars now instead of hundreds of dollars or tens of dollars. And it's real easy to move up that ladder once you start doing it because the quality just starts getting better and better and better.
So I asked our auction man, what qualities do you look for in pottery, and how do you know you have a collective piece?
The first thing you always look for, no matter if it's pottery or if it's anything, is how it's made. If it's made well, it's probably something you should be looking deeper into, because then it's probably a good piece. If you pick up a piece of silver or a piece of pottery, or you pick up a painting, or you pick up anything and you see that it's done well or made well or something, then you need to investigate it a little bit further. If it's not done so well, you probably don't have to investigate it too much further. We've trained our staff to do that. If they pick up a piece of anything and it feels like it's quality, let's look into it a little bit further. If it feels like it's a good piece of silver or a good piece of gold or a good piece of good bronze, then you're going to want to look into that and see if it's a listed artist, a maker that you know. But pottery in itself is marked. Almost every piece of it's marked. You can find a piece of Tico that was made in northern Illinois that's worth thousands of dollars, and you might find it at a garage sale. You might find a piece of any of these pieces of pottery that people were just using. We found a piece of Gruby pottery one time in a garage with a bunch of flower pot, and the Gruby pottery vase brought about $900. The vase, they didn't know they had it, but it was marked Gruby. Gruby is another piece of pottery that Tiffany incorporated into a lot of their lamps. So Gruby is a very high-end piece of pottery. You look for the patina, you look for like in metals a lot of times, pottery has a certain patina to it, it has a certain feel to it, it has a certain weight to it. Cheap pottery is not heavy. It's never, ever has any weight to it whatsoever. Now you can pick up a piece of made in Japan pottery and a piece of Gruby pottery, and you can shut your eyes and you can tell which one is the better piece just by feeling it.
So what's the best kind of collective pottery to get?
Go by what you like. I think you should never collect anything just because you want value. You should collect what you like. I don't care if it is Gruby or if it's Roseville or if it's Weller or if it's Rookwood or whatever kind it is. If you like it, then you should collect it.
Each week, Rich sells hundreds of auction items at his Wednesday night auctions. And so I was curious as to what the top 5 auction selling items were.
I think right now one of the top selling items is costume jewelry, and I think we've talked about that before. But I think that's probably the number one selling item there is right now. It's glamorous, it's well made. They don't want just costume jewelry, they want well made costume jewelry, okay? So it's well made. It's another thing that will hold its value. They can use it, they can wear it, they don't just have to put it on a shelf behind a glass and look at it like a Hummel would be. Art is always going to be up there. Original art holds its value. And that's something you should always think about if you're going to collect, Is it going to hold its value, or am I just going to keep this and then down the line sell it for less than I paid for it even? We've taken some oil paintings off of double wides that brought $160,000. That was a record price, and we set that right here in Beloit. Christie's in New York sold the same artist 6 months earlier for $30,000 less. We sold that piece here in Beloit, and it did just fine. Somebody from New York bought it, but we sold that here. We sold another piece that was attributed to Jackson Pollock. That brought $60,000, and that was bought by a Beloit person. We've kind of established ourselves as a Midwest cultural center, and we've established our art buyers, and we've got art buyers coming to us all the time now. Furniture is fine to say it's a top buy because you can always use furniture, but you should buy furniture as a functional piece of something you can use. And antique furniture is a very good buy because it doesn't wear out on you. It's good stuff. It's all wood. It's really good. You don't throw it away in 5 years. Even the stuff from the 50s, which a lot of people are considering antique furniture now, or mid-century furniture they're calling it, is really good furniture. You know, it's not IKEA furniture that you get rid of right away. If you like IKEA furniture, there's nothing wrong with that, but you're going to have to throw it away in 5 years. Toys are another top item to buy, and mostly it's boy toys because guys never grow up and they keep buying toys, and if they had a toy when they were younger, they'll have 30 of them now. Girls really, or ladies or women, are way more practical, I think, and think through these things. They don't need 30 Barbie dolls just because they had a Barbie doll when they were growing up. The ones they're buying are collector Hot Wheels, or they're buying Tonka toys, or they're buying Nyland toys that they grew up with. And it's always something they grew up with. So if you were 75 years old, you grew up with Buddy L toys, so you would be buying Buddy L toys. If you're 40 years old, you're buying Tonka toys because you grew up with Tonka toys. We sold Buddy L trains for $4,000. We've sold arcade cars for $4,000 and $5,000. There's banks that we sold for $6,000, mechanical banks. We just sold one of those last year for $6,000. Mechanical banks are really pretty popular yet. They're not, the still banks aren't as popular, but mechanical banks that still do something as you put a coin into them are pretty popular. Even though they were reproduced pretty heavily, the old ones are pretty, old cast iron is pretty easy to spot. Well, probably the next thing would be coins, and gold and silver coins. When I say that, I don't mean just coins like pennies and nickels and just that. But gold and silver coins will hold their value because of the gold and silver. On top of, not only are they rare, some of them are very rare, and they're hard to find, so they're worth a lot more than the gold and silver content in them. But the coins themselves are easy to store. They're easy to put someplace. There's a catalog. You can catalog every coin you get by what it's worth. So coins are very well graded. You can grade a coin. You can have a coin graded. If you have a very good coin, you should have it graded. And once it gets graded, it gets put into a plastic binder, a sealed plastic binder, so it can't be touched then again, because you don't want to be touching these coins too much with your hands. There's acid in your hands, and so you want to use gloves when you deal with coins. One of the most up-and-coming things that is happening in the auction business is selling real estate online. Online real estate auctions are going to be the thing of the future. They're coming. You can't stop it. Google just invested $50 million in a company called Auction.com in California. Google's coming into the real estate auction business. Google sees it happening. $50 million is not a lot of money to Google. It's a lot of money to the rest of us. It's just not a lot of money to Google. But it's still a significant investment in a company that didn't have that kind of backing before. And I have a feeling that Google Drive will push online marketing to the top, real estate marketing to the top of the search field.
This is definitely good news for those that are in the real estate auction business.
For sure. If I was in the traditional real estate business, this would bother me more than anything else. It's great news for people that are selling property. It's the best thing that could happen to them, because the more people you have look at your house, the more your house will bring. Because we've had bidders from Alaska and from Arkansas and from all over the country bidding on items. In fact, our online auction we have coming up right now on the 26th of March. I just looked at the stats last night. We have 24 states represented and 2 foreign countries bidding on that auction.
To learn more about Rich's online auctions, find him on Facebook, or go to his website at beloitauction.com. We've reached the part of the podcast where listeners like yourself can submit photos and basic information about items that you want to know what it's worth. Submit your questions and photos to rich@beloitauction.com, and we may feature it in an upcoming podcast. In 1860 and 61, the Pony Express delivered mail, messages, newspapers, and small packages from St. Joseph, Missouri, all the way across the wild and Great Plains, over the Rocky Mountains, and through the Sierra Nevadas, until it reached its destination in Sacramento, California. And all of this was done by horseback using a series of relay stations. During its 18 months of operations, it became the West's most direct means of east-to-west communication prior to the establishment of the telegraph. Messages from the Atlantic could reach the Pacific in just 10 days. However, the romanticism surrounding the Pony Express has made it a legendary part of the American West. This romanticism has led to several reenactments of the Pony Express ride, including one such ride in 1923 where teams of riders competed against each other for the fastest times. Participants, winners with the fastest times, and employees of Wells Fargo Bank each received a unique form of the medal. Some had loops on it, some did not. Some were mixed with gold and silver. While very rare, Tom and Dawn from Michigan would like to know what their special coin is worth.
I mean, it's a really cool coin. And I've known Tom and Dawn for a while. They come to our auction. They drive over from Michigan. Her father was a coin collector. And in his collection of coins, he had this one special coin. And it's a 1923 Wells Fargo Pony Express commemorative coin. And in 1923, they gave out this coin on the occasion of the reenactment of the famous Pony Express ride from St. Joseph, Missouri to San Francisco. Now, every winner of this race got a gold coin. And on the back of this coin is stamped the name of one of the riders in the winning team. It's not worth the gold value of this coin. The gold value, this is an example of coins being worth more than just the gold value. Scrap value of this coin is maybe $80, $90, and maybe a little bit more. I haven't weighed it, so I don't know exactly. But this item's very unique, and my personal estimate on this coin, from what it is and how it is hooked, it's got a little hook on it to make a keychain out of it or to make a watch fob out of it, so you can do anything you want with it. But I would say this coin is probably worth somewhere around $500 to $800.
So what's your next what it's worth item, Rich?
Oh, the next item is one of my favorite items, and we're selling some of these this week. It's a lunchbox, and there's a great story on the lunchboxes that should be out there and told. Lunchboxes didn't used to mean anything to anybody. They were nothing. They weren't valued at anything. They didn't have anything. So this guy, and I don't know his name, okay, but he decided that he was going to write a book. So he went out and he started buying lunchboxes, and he would buy them at garage sales or auctions or wherever. And he would buy them for a quarter. He liked them because they were colorful, and he'd buy them for a quarter or a dime or $1 or whatever he would have to pay for them, within reason. And then out of the blue, after he gets 100 plus lunchbox, he sits down and writes a price guide on the lunchboxes, using nothing but his imagination. And then he publishes the price guide. And the price guide takes off because everybody had a lunchbox. So everybody got wild about it. Everybody says, wow, I've got one of these. It's worth $45. It's worth $85. It's worth $65. It's worth $100. And then he has a big auction. And he sells all his lunchboxes using his price guide and his marketing skills. And it was a great marketing coup. And so it's a great story. And now they're still collectible, you know. You think of people like Coke or Pepsi or somebody like that doing things like this, but you don't think of some guy just doing it. But he did it. Lunchboxes do make a difference to collectors now if they have their original thermos with them, if the thermos has its original cap on it, because that's part of that whole lunchbox thing. You have to have that. One of the ones we're showing you is the school bus one. It's the Disney one. That's a really cool lunchbox.
So what's your next what it's worth item, Rich?
The violin it's a Hope violin, HOPF. That's a German violin, It's not in great condition, but it's got two bows with it that are in really nice condition. It just needs to be restrung is really all it needs to be done. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's not a bad violin. Sometimes you have to watch the bows. The bows can be worth more than the violin themselves. And a lot of times the bows are signed, and they're signed underneath where you take them apart at. So you have to kind of watch that. You have to take them apart and look where they're made and see who made them.
But how much would it sell for?
It's probably worth somewhere in the $200 to $500 range.
If you have an item and want to know what it's worth, please send your picture along with basic information to rich@beloitauction.com. So what are Rich's top picks at auction this week?
Well, there's that knight in shining armor. He's kind of different. I only know of one other one in town like him. You could have one of the two, or maybe if you're that person that has it, you could have a pair of them. It's a cool piece. I have no idea what this will bring, because it's one of those pieces that you have to want it, and it's a spur of the moment buy, and you got to hope your wife wants it too, or when you get home with it.
It looks like a great conversation piece.
It is. It is. I mean, if you like that kind of stuff, it's fine. It's a great piece.
So what is Rich's next auction item?
Oh, the pedal tractor. Pedal tractors are really collectible. We're back to that guy's toy thing again. A guy will buy this, I guarantee you. There will be no women bidding on this. And they will restore this. It needs to be repainted. The pedals need to be put back on it again. They will restore this thing. And then they will have it sitting there and looking very pretty. It's just a nice pick. It's a nice pedal tractor.
If you'd like to see more items that Rich has for auction today, stop in at his website at beloitauction.com or check him out on Facebook. Or if you'd like the auction man to shed light on a question you have about auctions or something you have in your collection, drop him a line at rich@beloitauction.com. The Call of the Auction Man is a Beloit Auction production. Beloit Auction is the proud winner of the 2014 WAA Best of Show Marketing Award. Find more great podcasts by Janesville Community Radio at www.blogtalkradio.com/Janesville Community Radio 2.